weld when feskadus adawamla amin. Besama weld when feskadus adawamla amin. Besama weld when feskadus adawamla amin. Good morning, give thanks, blessed love. Good morning again, because I left reasoning this morning. And it's connected as well, actually. If you listen to that reasoning, what I was saying and said about the sign of the cross and going to the east from the west and out of Egypt and those kind of things, it's connected. It just shows how these stories, they're bigger than stories, but these chapters, these narratives from the Bible still resonate today, and they resonate across different symbols and different understandings and teachings and meanings that we do today, and still very much foundational in every aspect of our life, and how we kind of how we worship and things that we say, etc., etc. But we don't always know the root of where they come from. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the morning meditation that I did this morning, the morning reasoning. But anyway, this is a bit of a longer preamble. Didn't really mean to go into this, so I'm going to go straight into Exodus chapter 8. Give thanks. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Go in to Pharaoh and tell him, that is what Yahweh says, let my people go, that they may serve me. If you are served to let them go, behold, I will plague all your borders with frogs. The river would swarm with frogs, which will go up and come into your house, and into your bedroom, and onto your bed, and into your house of your servants, and on your people, into your ovens, and into your kneading troughs. The frog shall come up both on you, and on your people, and on all your servants." Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, stretch out your hand with your rod over the rivers, over the streams, and over the pools, and cause the frogs to come up on the land of Egypt." Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. The magicians did the same thing with their enchantments, and brought up frogs on the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, "Entreat Yahweh, take he away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may sacrifice to Yahweh." Moses said to Pharaoh, "I give you the honor of setting the time that I shall pray for you and all your servants and for your people, that the frogs be destroyed from you and your houses, and remain in the river only." Pharaoh said, "Tomorrow." Moses said, "Let it be according to your word, that you may know that there is no one like Yahweh our God. The frogs shall depart from you, and from your houses, and from your servants, and from your people. They shall remain in the river also only." Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried to Yahweh concerning the frogs which he had brought on Pharaoh. Yahweh did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, and out of the courts, and out of the fields. They gathered them together in heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that they were where was a respite, he hardened his heart and didn't listen to them, as Yahweh had spoken. Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, stretch out your rod and strike the dust of the earth, and it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt." They did so, and Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and struck the dust of the earth, and there were lice on man and on animal. All the dust of the earth became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. The magicians tried with their enchantments to produce lice, but they couldn't. There were lice on man and on animal. Then the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is God's finger." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he didn't listen to them, as Yahweh had spoken. Yahweh said to Moses, "Rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Behold, he comes out to the water, and tell him, this is what Yahweh says, let my people go, that they may serve. Else, if you will not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies on you and on your servants and on your people and into your houses. The houses of Egypt shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground that they are on. I will set apart in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end you may know that I am Yahweh on the earth. I will put a division between my people and your people. The sign shall happen by tomorrow. Yahweh did so, and then there came grievous swarms of flies into the house of Pharaoh, into his servants' houses, and in all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarms of flies. Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, "Go sacrifice to your God in the land." Moses said, "It isn't appropriate to do so, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Yahweh our God. Behold, if we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, won't they stone us? We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to Yahweh our God as he shall command us." Pharaoh said, "I will let you go, that you may sacrifice to Yahweh your God in the wilderness, only that you shall not go very far away. Pray for me." Moses said, "I am going out from you. I will pray to Yahweh that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, from his people tomorrow. Only don't let Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore, in not letting the people go to sacrifice to Yahweh." Moses went out to Pharaoh and prayed to Yahweh. Yahweh did according to the word of Moses, and he indeed removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also, and he didn't let the people go. Give thanks, blessed love. That way. So, yes, a very detailed chapter. And it's about still Moses and Yahweh pleading with Pharaoh to let the Egyptians go, and to prove to Pharaoh through showing the might of God that God is the true God and God is the true power, and that Pharaoh should listen to him. But every time God does something, so he sends in a swarm of frogs, he's sending a swarm of lice, but Pharaoh gets his magicians to do the same thing, and Pharaoh just ignores God's command. But also there's a deceit, because Pharaoh at different points says, "Yes, I will do it. I will let the people go." But then after, for example, all the frogs have been swept up and there were millions of them around, Pharaoh says, he basically goes back on his word, and he does this time and time again with the frogs, with the plague of lice. He says, "I will let them go." With the flies, he will says, "I will let them go." But then he, as it says, he hardens his heart, and then he goes back on his word. In the Caribbean we say he's hard is, and if you can't hear, you'll feel. But here he's hearing and he's feeling, but he's still going back on his word, and he's not holding up the promise which he's given to both God and Moses. And even Pharaoh's magicians say to him, "We can't raise I think it was the lice. We can't do this one. This is the finger of God." But still Pharaoh is refusing. Then as it goes down, he starts to compromise a little bit when he realizes he's getting a bit out of his depth. And he says to Moses, "Why don't your people sacrifice in Egypt? Why don't they worship their God in Egypt? I will allow them, a temple, I allow them to worship, but they still have to remain in Egypt, and they still will be enslaved." And Moses says, "No, you can't. People can't worship under those conditions. They need to go, they need to travel for 3 days into the mountains, into the east, and they need to come with me. And you can't have this clause to say that they will just worship but still be enslaved. To truly worship, you need to be free." So the battle goes on, the battle of wills goes on. Yeah, and just in closing, I think there's something here about, Pharaoh's stubbornness, um, his unwillingness to admit defeat, even when his magicians are saying, this is the will of God. This isn't. This isn't something that we can conjure, and probably speaks to the leaders, the unwillingness of leaders to admit defeat or to admit mistakes, and a lack of humbleness. Um, and Pharaoh's just, with every iteration, he's just digging his heels in and even lying now to the people that, yes, I will let them go, but he's not letting them go. So it becomes a real battle of wills, but I also think it shows a stubbornness that ultimately will lead, well, let's see, to your own destruction. Let's see where the narrative goes. But blessed love, give thanks. Malcolm Ken, have a blessed day. Again, those of you that are fasting, blessed love. And yeah, God willing, more reading and reflection tomorrow. Give thanks. One love.